All right, so recently I started reading this book right here because I think he was on the Chris Williamson podcast. Shout out to Modern Wisdom, and shout out to Peter Santenello, um, who's actually a fellow YouTuber, who wrote this book on understanding America. Well, the America that most of us do not even care to visit or have been, so, quote unquote, forgotten. So some of the people so far, I'm not done with the book as you can see. I'm about not halfway yet, but almost there, almost halfway, about 45% of the way so far. And he's visited the Amish in Pennsylvania or Florida. The Amish people have he's visited. He's visited the native people of Alaska, who are like way up there. He's also visited East LA Chicano culture, which I'm in California and I know they exist, but like I didn't know there was a whole area for them. And currently I'm in the Mississippi Delta, which I just started last night, and I just finished the Deep Appalachia um, chapter. And I love books like this. I've read a lot of books on travel. I've also traveled to most places that a lot of people don't go to, like China being one of them, for instance. And I even did a tour of going into the mountains of this. I forgot the name of the city. I'm so bad. I think it was Guilin. And visiting the like there's Chinese. China is such a big country, and there's so many different Chinese people. They're like North Chinese people, South Chinese. There's like I wouldn't call them native Chinese people, but there's like certain tribes that there's only a few of them left. And I visited one of those tribes. So there's only a few hundred of them left that live in these mountains and rice paddies up there. I got pictures somewhere. Now one day I'll share if people are interested in learning more about that culture. But I love books like this because it takes you out, especially as someone, and you may relate if you grew up in a major city in America, whether it's New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago. Many of these cities have so much diversity, so much things happening within them that a lot of what you see on media doesn't really showcase, right? Like I talk about Oakland in my video a lot. I mean, it's one of my most popular videos around moving from a very expensive apartment. And parts of Oakland, most people that know about Oakland that I talk to outside of California, period, think Oakland is just this third world country. And don't get me wrong, parts of it feel like that, especially in the west and the east side of Oakland. But there's also parts of Oakland that nobody knows about, whether it's like the Oakland Hills, Piedmont, Rock Ridge, like that area that's between Berkeley and Oakland is like a little, I forget what it's called. But those places are like, it doesn't even feel like Oakland, but it is still a part of Oakland. It's still a zip code of Oakland, for instance. So not a lot of people know about that, and you wouldn't know until you go there. But, as someone who grew up in New York and grew up in Coney Island, which is globally a lot of people know about Coney Island because the Coney Island Rise, the Coney Island Beach, but not a lot of people know about what Coney Island really is like, especially when you go deep into there. And I always tell them there's plenty of movies that showcase real Coney Island, for instance. So there's a lot of communities that we just don't understand. And one of the things about being a better human, which is a video I made the other day about like what does it take to be a better human. I also have a video coming out, I believe either tomorrow or the day after, that's going to be on how self-help has changed. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of that. I'm a big proponent of, I think we're here to be the best version of ourselves, but also to support others. And if you're not doing that, like, what's the point of living, right? So I love books like this because it really showcases a lot of these. We make judgments of these communities we don't even know about. Like, for me, it was like Deep Appalachia. I thought it was just like poverty, drug-stricken places, while I had a lot of empathy. And I was just like, but unfortunately, those people haven't left. So I have my own personal judgments on that. But then after watching TV shows like Dope Sick, and reading stuff like this, I'm like, oh, there's like a whole like great community there that support one another. And yes, it is drug infested, unfortunately, but people are there to help each other, and they want to do better. They want to be better, and they want people to see a lighter side to it, because no place is really just like all bad. And there's a lot of videos that showcase like they go to countries that are like, war torn or anything, and they get met with a ton of hospitality there. And granted, you can have the argument of like, oh, well, they saw somebody with a camera and they were like, oh, we got to act, like we're the best so that people could come here. I mean, that's how I think, because I'm more pessimistic than I am optimistic. And I'm trying not to be, right? I try really hard by reading books like this, which will help to be less pessimistic about people and people's motives, because it's really hard to trust people when their motives are very selfish, especially in individualistic society, especially where you grew up, where I grew up. These are things I'm trying to fix myself. So that's part of self-development. But just understanding other people and their, I'm lucky that I got into a job where my job is to ask questions. Like, that's literally the main thing about my job is asking the right questions so I can get the right answers that will help this person get a job so they could get paid a fair wage where they can support themselves and their families and loved ones, right? That's how I see it. At least that's my vision for my own personal brand as a talent partner recruiter in the tech space. Everyone else has their own reason and judgments on why they're in the tech space. Most of it is because of money, but they have their own goals and objectives and things like that. Books like this really help me understand, because I have my own like wishes that I hope to do, things I hope to do when I get to a point where like I'm making enough money where I have more than I need, or like much more than I need. My family, my loved ones, everyone's taken care of, and I still have a surplus. And my investments and all that is fine in the case of an emergency, or in the case of a health crisis, or just getting old, right? Like, all that is taken care of, and I still have a surplus of money. My hope is that I can support neighborhoods whether I grew up in, like Coney Island, or that I lived in for a long period of time that are going through a rough patch, like Oakland, So I go to church. A lot of the churches that I've been to 2 churches at this point, 3 churches that I've been part of, and I've seen how much they're really trying to help Oakland be a better place, whether that's like supporting the local schools, supporting the local businesses. And I really admire and respect that. Like, when I was in New York, there wasn't that case. Like, you didn't see that as much. Maybe now it's different, but when I was growing up, you didn't really see that. I didn't really see that until I held an internship at American Express. And I worked closely with one of the teams that were doing there was like a small business initiative, because American Express, a lot of people use their cards are people who had money, right? And American Express is not accepted in a lot of places. So they did this huge run, and you probably still see stickers in certain stores that are about like support small businesses from American Express. That was a whole thing that they did. I think they still do it. I don't know if that team still exists, but I thought it was a great mission. And of course, they just wanted people to use their cards more, right? Because those stores usually didn't accept Amex. So they created deals and made sure like, we don't use Amex because you guys charge the most in terms of a fee. So we stay away from Amex versus like a MasterCard and a Visa, who charges maybe 1 or 2%. And then Amex charges probably like 3 to 3.5% per transaction, for instance. That's usually why people didn't really use or accept Amex. But now in small businesses, you see them accept it more, because Amex created this, huge push back in the day. And I respected that. I think that's something that we have to do in order to support, right? And I'm getting, these videos are not for me to just hold anything. It's just like what came to mind in that day for me. And as I'm reading this book, it continues Like, I would love to visit some of these places and see it for myself, whether it's like Amish country. I would love to, like, when I'm starting a podcast, and eventually my podcast is called The Human Operating System. And it's like, I love to see how people operate, and especially in different places. And I would love to have like an Amish person. I think Theo Vaughn, the comedian, had an Amish person on his podcast last year, a few months ago, for instance. Like, I love stuff like that because we get to understand one another, right? There's all this division online, and I'm like, I try my best to get away from that. Like, I don't want this division. I'm not a fan of that. Why are we like he versus she, or, you know, they versus them, or, you know, this politician versus this politician, blue versus red. Like, no, let's save that for the sports. This is why sports exist, so that you can have a side to root for. But instead, we're rooting against a fellow human who's really just trying to survive. Like, we're all just out here trying to survive what the cards we've been dealt with. And as we move further away from each other, further away from community, further away from our family, further away from our friends, things just get hard. It gets much harder. Life is already freaking hard, man. And then we're going to make it harder on ourselves by removing ourselves from people and community and loved ones. And yeah, no one's perfect, but that's something I'm trying to deal with, right? Where I have a very high bar in terms of my friendships. And I have a lot of rules against, like, making friends with people I work with, or getting too close to them, because you never know. Like, you say the wrong thing and they bring it to someone, and then that's it, you're done, right? Or you don't agree with a certain project or thing that happened within the company. You say something, what if they tell someone else, and now you're that person that if layoffs come, you're the first one in their minds. And I'm like, I would stay away from that, and not take a chance. And that's been something, unfortunately, that I've been a part of. I'm changing that now. Like, I actually have friends that I've created through work, over the last 2 jobs I've had, for instance. And I hope to continue doing that, because that's something that I have to change, right? Still don't recommend dating at work. If that's something that you're doing, I suggest you either leave the job, they leave the job, if you want to continue the relationship. But definitely don't date someone that you work with. That should not be a thing that you do. But that's my strong opinion. Anyway, again, getting derailed. That's what I do. I get derailed. Happy to hear your comments if you like that or not, so I could try to keep to it. But highly recommend this book. I'm loving it so far. I'm not done yet, but just seeing things that I would not have thought that exist within my own country of America. And I've driven through the country 3 times, from east to west, west to east, and back and forth over and over again. And I think I've seen some pretty cool stuff. It's unfortunate that I didn't get to stop for too long in a lot of the places I went to, but I got to see a large part of the country and see all the differences between the states, whether it's the flatlands of Texas to, like, the beautiful rock formations in Arizona and New Mexico, to the swamps of Florida, or the beautiful forest in Virginia, in Ohio, and the hills in Ohio. Like, all these things that I've seen by just driving through and just being like, wow, this country, 1, is massive, but 2, is absolutely beautiful and stunning, in different forms throughout. So yeah, highly recommend this book, Peter. You did a great job in writing this and showcasing it, and I'm actually waiting to finish the book so I could watch some of the videos that he created, because he says that a lot of it is based on the videos that he made on YouTube. So I'll tag him in the comments below, because I think understanding people, especially where you grew up, or like what country you're in, and all the differences, whether it's poor, rich, somewhere in the middle, wherever you land, it's good to understand the whole spectrum of those people and create less division, and listen to them, listen to their stories, and seek to understand versus being understood, type of thing. You will have your time to be understood, but yeah, that's what I think. And there's, just recommend it. And yeah, until tomorrow, y'all. Peace.